Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Amazing You podcast and YouTube channel, a space where stories of resilience, transformation, and hope come to life. And here we share powerful journeys that remind us that even in challenging moments, there is always a path forward. So I would like also to say a big thank you to everybody who's been watching, sharing, and subscribing for the past 5.5 years. Thank you so much, and keep sharing. And for anybody who is new today, welcome to the channel, and please share and subscribe as well. I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a life and relationship coach and energy healer. And today I am very excited to introduce you to a truly very inspiring and powerful guest. Her name is Laziena Hodge. Laziena is a relational and system repair specialist of the relationship repair language framework, a practical approach to understanding what happens within relationships when emotional triggers, conflict, and past experiences arise. Laziena's work focuses on helping people move beyond simply recognizing unhealthy patterns and instead develop the emotional skills needed to repair, reconnect, and communicate more consciously. She believes many relationship struggles are not caused by a lack of love, but by the fact that most people were never taught how to navigate emotional conflict in healthy ways. And through her teaching, conversations, and growing her podcast network, Laziena inspires individuals to cultivate emotional intelligence, personal responsibility, healing, and develop deeper human connection. So, very warm welcome, Laziena, to Amazing You. I am so happy to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate everything that you said. I loved your introduction. I felt fancy. I was like, oh, go me, girl. Thank you.
You are
Thank you
welcome,
so
and
much. Yes.
you are amazing, and you are
Thank
wonderful in
you.
the job that you do and the
Thank
work that you are doing, the time you are investing in helping people to transform their lives. And that is
you.
such an important topic, and that's why I was so excited when you told me about what you were doing, the things that you do, because we don't talk about that often, about how we speak in our relationships. So I think that's really powerful.
Yes.
And my first question to you, Laziena, is could you please share a little about your journey and what
Yes.
inspired your work in relational intelligence?
Yeah. My journey really came from being a complete devoted mother. I realized that I was parenting from an unconscious space. I was parenting from the things that I lacked or didn't even know or aware of. And so I started doing a lot of personal development. And in personal development, it seemed like, okay, I have all this language, I have my children back, and I'm parenting differently, but no matter what, we would still get in conflict. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? A lot of shame that came with it too. But um, eventually I realized that we have a lot of unacknowledged emotional impact that's happened in our lives. And that could be something so simple as being bullied in school and not have anybody to say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you were bullied, or acknowledge it. And that shows up in our lives, and then we just carry it over so much. But to share the real the vulnerable story, 6 years ago, yeah, 6 years ago, I got a call from my husband at the time that he had been in a very inappropriate sexual relationship with my daughter. It broke me. It brought me to my knees, and I was like, what in the
Yeah.
world just happened? What happened here? And as much as I was I had a rage and fire inside of me and I wanted to blame. I was like, but why didn't my daughter feel safe to come and talk to me? And that led me on a journey of finding out what I was doing and what my role in that was. So as I started to learn about myself, I started to do inner child work and I introduced inner child work to my children. I noticed that they would learn about themselves and they would go and do the reparenting. We knew each other's love languages. We understood how we were pushing our love away with our attachment style. But whenever there was conflict, why couldn't we just get along? And that led me to understand that I have emotional needs. And when my emotional needs are not being met, I protest. So I'm saying, Ronnie, I have emotional needs. I don't know what they are, but I want you to fix them. I want you to meet them. And if you don't meet them, then I'm going to punish you. And that is a dynamic that kept happening with my kids and the people that I love and care about. So it's these moments in conversation when things get hard and we make a decision. We can have a relationship that's 90% beautiful, but at 10%, when something is happening and we're uncomfortable, not only is it nervous system, it's also our inner child that's showing up. So I developed a framework so that we can have a language that can give us the opportunity to stay through the difficult conversation, stay present with each other. And we may decide that we're not going to integrate and this isn't something that we can do, but we're at least going to give ourselves a chance to give repair a try. Because most of the time I was doing personal development, but with personal development came beautiful boundaries. However, some of those boundaries were like, okay, I'm going to worry about myself. Well, I have a relational responsibility to my children. I have a relational responsibility to a team if I'm leading a team. I still have a relational responsibility of how I show up. And so the repair language, I really believe, gives us that some a way to name what we need so we can not be we're not abandoning ourselves, we're not abandoning each other, we're really showing up in a way that's powerful and true to us without neglecting ourselves or people please or all of the performance things that are happening. But the journey to all of this came with a recognition that I was parenting my children from what I needed instead of what they needed, and that changed everything. It gave me so much more newer insights. And I just want to be able to have this language be a part of everybody's worlds now. And it's an opportunity for our little boys and little girls to grow up together with consciously.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I really appreciate everything that you've shared, and it's so important as parents,
Mhm.
because as parents we we come with so much emotional baggage that we don't realize it. It's very unconscious, and
So,
we have those outbursts of parents have outbursts of anger, and they how would you say, they release it to the children, to the family, because
mhm.
you can't keep this frustration inside. It has to come out.
Yeah.
And you what you are sharing is like majority of the parents are in that survival mode, and they
Yes.
in that reaction mode, and they react from their emotions without taking a step to reflect, why am I doing that? And I
Mhm.
think it's so important, like what you've done. It's so powerful to work on yourself and to help your children as well, and getting into the personal development, but also into the healing journey. Can
Yes.
you share with us, so that the audience understand a bit more, how that healing journey has been transformative in your
Yeah.
own life?
Oh my gosh, that's a beautiful question. That's a beautiful question. I mean, you're talking about I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I
Mm.
always felt like in every relationship or every marriage that I've had, it felt like I needed to grow more. I was always blamed and I couldn't do it better. So I got upset at myself and I started to push myself into personal development. I'm like, okay, what is it that I don't know? I learned so much, and I couldn't possibly like water that down of how much I've learned. But the biggest thing is that I realized is that I only knew anger or sadness. Anger, if I was angry, that meant that I was ungrateful. And if I was sad, here's some food. I had no reason to be sad. And
Mm.
that's all I knew. Now, growing up that way, there I didn't know that there were emotional needs. I didn't know how to process anger. I didn't know that anger was even can even be something to do healthily. But I knew that I was always angry. I had this rage and this
Mm.
fire inside of me. Well, what I've learned is that when I was 6 years old, I believed that my father didn't want me. And because of that belief, I made decisions and choices that reinforced it in every single relationship part of my life, and in every capacity, whether it was at work or at home, in any spaces where there's people. I just recreated that. So I can say from like about 20 years old and until 43, I really had no concept of who I was. I was just this drone. So when I peeled back the layers and I'm like, okay, so what actually happened? Well, there's Dr. Bowlby, who was a psychiatrist in the United Kingdom. He had this theory about the attachment theory. From 0 to 3 is when we learn our emotional and our nervous system safety. And by age 7, if our parents is not on the other side of the personal or the healing journey, they have our limiting belief is already there. It's stuck. By 13 is when that limiting belief becomes the ego. It is who runs the show. It's who shows up in meetings, who shows up as a leader, who shows up as a mom, all of these things. So I was like, so what happened there? Let me go back there. But it came with a lot of fear, a shame, I would say, because that meant, well, what about my grandparents? My grandparents were great. They were wonderful. I don't want to go back and say my grandparents did anything wrong. And then I had to get into the mindset to switch that it's not that my parents did anything wrong. It's not about blaming them. It's about going back to that little child of mine that had that belief that my dad didn't want me, and really unpack it and take a look at it. It may need that I needed to blame my dad because when I was going to school and me and my brother were walking home, a guy grabbed him with a cutlass, and it was terrifying. I was like about 6 years old, and then when the guy finally let my brother go, I grabbed him and I ran home, or I ran to a family, whatever the case is. All I knew was that my dad said he was across the street at a rum shop, and he said, well, at least he didn't die, they're okay. And so yes, I want to blame my dad for that and I want to be upset about that, but that takes away from, well, what was happening with me. And so I sat down and I asked my mom. I was like, Mom, what was that like how did you feel when I came home? And she said that I was shaking. I was shaking. So, Ronnie, I'm like, wait a minute. So, if I was shaking at 6 years old when I'm supposed to learn my emotional needs by 3, what was that like? What was that even like? So, I just had to go back to these moments in my childhood and acknowledge it for myself that these things happened and it was terrifying. And I needed people who cared and love and care about me unconditionally that can guide me through that. The second layer of that was that, well, I held on to this belief that my dad didn't want me or didn't care, or I wasn't loved, or all of that. And then I started punishing people for it. And the people that got the punishment were my children. They're the ones who got the anger, the outburst, the rage, anything that when I started to feel like I wasn't worthy or good enough, it would just pummel towards them. And let me tell you, when my children were doing their reparenting work and they came to me and they were telling me about things that affected them, there's so many times where I wanted to get defensive and say, no, but that's not how it happened, and that wasn't my intention. And that got me to look at my parents because then they didn't have the tools as well. So I had to go to forgive myself and forgive my parents in order for me to see how this was showing up with my children, how I can become a better parent for my kids. And the biggest transformation is that we have such relational loyalty now that we learn to separate behaviors from emotion. We're learning that whenever we're triggered, that's a moment for us to discover what's really underneath there. What is the unmet need? Instead of fighting, we're not fighting each other, we're fighting the thing. We're never going to be able to get rid of our emotions. They are the beautiful thing about this beautiful journey. Anger taught me that I'm passionate. I'm an advocate, and I will go out there and I will fight for other people, but first I have to fight for myself. Sadness taught me that there's something that's out of alignment that I wanted differently. Regret, remorse, all of these things have taught me that I'm so out of alignment with my own integrity. So when I'm able to like really sit down with those things and give them context and give them a language and also do the healing work, I'm able to show up for my kids. I'm able to listen with compassion, take myself out of what they're feeling and validate them. Being able to be in this rich, beautiful relationship that knowing that we're going to have our emotions and knowing that it's not personal, knowing that we can come back from it together. They're going to go off and they're going to have their lives, and I believe that they know that mom is here, not to solve their problems, but to be that listening companion along the way with whatever they're going through. They're smart and they're amazing. They know how to solve their problem. But most of the time, we just need a friend. We just need somebody to sit with us in the mud and hear our hearts. And so that, how do I tell you, like, this is the biggest transformation, because that is the biggest transformation for me. It's how I've rebuilt this relationship with my children and the people that I meet now. I get to have a more heart to heart connection. We're not talking cognitively. We're not talking about what we wish we could do. We're actually living, doing it, breathing it. And I get to grow up with them again. I get to enjoy their innocence, their joy, their laughter from that pure space without any resentment or regret or parenting from guilt. These are all like beautiful, rich things that I could just, it's so, I always I say it's so yummy and delicious, because I know what it's like to fight for my children, thinking that I would never see them again, thinking I would have to share them with somebody who may not have been safe for them. Like the gut wrenching feeling of my daughter being so disconnected from me. This is my oldest child. I had her when I was 19 years old, and to see that I was passing on my own generational trauma to her, I was like, no, man, this is my baby girl. I got to do it differently for her. And to now say, like, this is my beautiful baby girl, and I get to live and thrive with her, like, and all of my kids. It's just she was the catalyst for it. And that's been the biggest thing that lights me up, is just this relationship. It's so pure. It has its moments, but when those moments come up, we don't go to the shame of it immediately. We go to the curiosity. So, long story short, that's it.
Laziena, oh my God, it's mind blowing, the transformation. Thank you for sharing
Thank you.
that, because I am sure it's going to help people to get on that journey of self development and healing their inner child, doing the deeper work, doing the shadow work, because it's so rewarding. You have experienced it, I have experienced it,
Yes,
and I would say it's so worth it, because the relationship that you build after that, it's more heart centered, and you are at more peace within yourself, you are more happy within yourself. It is, I would say, life changing. In my clients, I see that. And in my day to life, how I respond to things is very different. How I respond to people, because so many parents, they they haven't had their needs met as children. And
exactly.
then as they become parents, they don't realize the impact it's having on their children, because they are not in a state that they can regulate the nervous system of their children, because their nervous system is already on survival mode, It's like when we start to regulate our body, nervous system, and emotions, that's when the transformation, that's when the breakthrough starts to happen. Thank you so much. And I would like you to tell us when you were, just for parents to understand, because
Yeah.
children, they feel what the parents are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were having these outbursts of anger, what was the impact on your children? Would you please share with us some of the impact?
Scared.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Terrified. I mean, my twins are 17 years old now. And even sometimes if I get passionate and I raise my voice, they go like this. Unconsciously because they were so scared. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
one of the questions I had to ask myself is, and this is part of my framework, well, how do I behave when I'm angry? Because I'm thinking about that 0 to 3, right? I'm thinking about this like a movie, or we all love movies. We watch the cartoon movies. I'm thinking about mom, a mother at the kitchen cooking. She's one baby in one arm. She has another one that's running around. She has one that's doing the schoolwork. And what is that dynamic when dad comes home, and if dad is abusive, emotionally unpresent, he's busy too. All of these things are happening. No, this is a five family household. Nobody has emotional awareness in that moment. And so when I thought about that, I was like, well, what do I look like when I'm angry? Nostril flare, eyes piercing that can cut you down, and I'm throwing things and I'm yelling and I'm screaming. My daughter, my oldest daughter was terrified. Fear is the way that she sabotages in her own life. Fear is the way that the minute I get loud, she almost goes back into like a little 8-year-old, 6-year-old girl. And that's the psychological space that she's responding from. And my youngest daughter, she does not feel, her nervous system is so different than my oldest. My youngest daughter, her nervous system goes like this. She internalizes and she carries everything. My oldest daughter, she's attack. She's like, she gets defensive. She starts throwing things back at me, and I naturally want to, like, okay, I got to set a boundary. I want to yell at her. There are times when I kicked her out of my car. I mean, we went toe to toe with her. She was me. She was my inner teen. But these hers is more defensive, and she's just trying to protect herself. And my son, he just shuts down. He doesn't have a voice, and so this was something that we recently realized when he attended the inner child workshop as well, was that he had 3 women, powerful girls, speaking up for him, that he lost his voice, but I didn't give him a voice at all. And now I will tell you that my son was, when he was younger, he was very timid, very, like, he didn't like people, very introverted. And I would force him to go and talk to people, but I was also very protective of him. So I did everything for him. I didn't, anything that needed to get done, I would do it. And so what ended up happening for him is that it didn't make him have confidence, because someone always robbed him of that opportunity for him to show up for himself. But this is all subconscious, right? No, none of this I even knew. I didn't know how it showed up in them until we started to do the work together. That's when we started to have the more vulnerable conversations about what happened. What was your experience like? What is it like to hear an angry mom? My youngest daughter, she doesn't like it. It makes her feel confused. It makes her feel dumb, like she's stupid and she's not capable. And my son, like, he kind of has this, like, resentment towards me, but he doesn't, and he has a lot of compassion. So the compassion overpowers the resentment, but the resentment comes out in, like, pocketed ways when he is not believing in himself, when it's time for him to make decisions in life. If there's women, he would just kind of give up his power to women, because that's what he had to do with his mom.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of some of the ways that it showed up. And I really had to look at that, because how do I behave when I'm angry? How do I behave when I'm sad? Because I know when I'm sad, I'm expecting my oldest daughter to take care of my emotions.
Yes.
Well, when I'm feeling guilty and I get into sadness, she has no space to tell me how she feels. We have no dialogue because she needs to make sure the mom is okay. So she was the parentified daughter. My youngest daughter, she would just isolate. She doesn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I never taught her how to feel emotions. So
Yeah.
she doesn't know what to do when she pulls away. Same thing with my son. He tries to help. So he tries to people please. And then he doesn't know what to do. And then when I'm overwhelmed, I tend to get very short and snippy. No, and they're all walking on an eggshells trying their best to help and they just can't. And when I'm resentful, then they feel attacked. They feel like
Mm-hmm.
they did something wrong. So they now have to correct their behavior, but they don't know what that behavior is because I'm just lashing out. So these are like really important things to that I got the chance to look at, and I'm glad that I dove into the opportunities because I'm like, there's no way I'm repeating my family trauma. This doesn't continue. This doesn't get to go past me. It stops
Mm-hmm.
here. And then I went on, dove deep into it because it shows up in so many ways. It's not just like one moment, and it's not just awareness. It's how when we're in conversation, do I need to feel heard because my mom never gave me a chance to listen, right? When I'm at work and I have a team, am I sharing the credit or am I taking the credit? Because I need to feel seen. Am I working out to the point of burnout because my mom taught me that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Am I playing small because my mom taught me to give up on her dreams and play small myself, right? And how does that show up in my belief in other women? So the more I learn about that, the more I see how it affects my children and how it could affect their future relationships. And I was like, nah, something's got to be done. And then the repair language came about.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Laziena, because I think it will help parents to see it's very interesting that you shared how each one of your child responded to your behavior,
Mm-hmm.
to your emotions, because that's what happened in families. Every child is unique, and they will cope with the situation in their own ways. Either they fight it, either they freeze. I used to freeze when things would happen for a long, long time, and I understand some of their reactions because that's their way for them to survive.
Yes.
So it's so important for parents to look at themselves. I had a parent one time, she came to me, she said, I don't understand why my child is so anxious. I say, and then I talked to the child, and she said, my mom kept yelling all the time with my dad, and I don't understand why she keeps yelling. And then I went back to my friend. I say, I think you need to look into yourself first, and see how you do things, because I think this is affecting your child. She can feel your emotions, and that create anxiety in her.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm so glad you shared about all that, how it starts with us, looking within ourselves, our unmet needs, and healing those needs,
Yeah.
and how after those kind of reflection and work, how life is different, how we experience life with each other, how we relate to each other, is is really, really much more heart centered instead
Mm-hmm.
of surviving. Yeah.
Yeah. I want
Thank.
to,
Yes,
I'm
Lazina,
sorry.
go on, go on.
I wanted to add something too,
Mm,
because, for parents that are listening, I remember, I mean, of course I'm a parent. One of the things that I really want to make a distinction about when I started learning about all of this, I
mm,
was overcome with a lot of shame.
mm,
I was overcome with so much shame because immediately I wanted to be like, but I did my best
mm.
and I tried, and all of that is true. So I want
Yes.
to the reason why I created this language is so that we can take shame and we can put it in a container. Let it can come and play with us. But
Mm,
when we are exploring this relationship repair language and how it plays out in our family dynamic, however, I I like to say, I'm going to invite you to sit at the table. And at this table, we have the big bowl. That is curiosity. We're going to bring in curiosity. We can put the shame on a little plate. We could put it on a palette plate. We don't need to have that at the center, because when we remove the shame, we can actually observe it and we can find out what it's trying to tell us. However, with the curiosity part of it, if we're all sitting down at a table and we go through, how do you behave when you're angry? How do you behave when you're sad, when you're overwhelmed, when you're resentful? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And which one of these repair language would help you feel supported in that moment? When we walk away from that conversation, we know each other better. We understand each other on a more heart to heart level. So when that shame comes up, we can say, well, wow, I felt really ashamed when I behaved this way. And then we can talk about solutions and not necessarily solution, but suggestions of how we can heal that shame within us, or we could offer it forgiveness and love and compassion. Because as much as like when my father said what he said about my brother at that time, right? That was hurtful and that was real. But when I think about my father, he didn't have like as much as one. My grandparents were wonderful, but he was the last of 12 children. They were always busy in their rice field. My grandmother would have a child in the rice field and then go right back to work. These were survival tactics. So where did he learn emotional needs? And then he was murdered when he was 30 years old. So where would he have had the opportunity to even repair or to teach or to show up for me in the way that I needed to? And then here I am doing the very same thing to my own children. So we can't spend a lifetime shaming ourselves or defending ourselves because we tried to do it differently and it's not working. We can open up our minds and our heart to different approaches and different solutions that I always say, I didn't know what I didn't know. And so now with this opportunity, we get to explore this from curiosity, because that shame can make us go sink down even more. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that here, because this is not easy work, especially as a parent. You're going to have a lot of that shame. And the thing that makes shame so beautiful is repair. So there is there's going to be hard moments, difficult moments, having support around that and knowing that I'm going to face some parts of me that I'm not going to like, but that doesn't mean that I have to sit there and live there. I can move through it. That's it. That's all I want to share.
Thank you. And I think that's a great point that you made, because shame is such a uh, big emotion that we suppress, many of us, and it is important to address it. Can you give the audience a brief explanation of what shame is like so that they
Oh,
get an idea? Yeah.
I mean, shame has so many layers. I think the
Mm,
biggest one is that shame reminds us that we're not good enough.
mm,
Shame tells us that we're not good enough. And I learned this quote at one of the workshops that I go to. Shame hates his name. So when we speak the shame, it no longer has power over us. But the example is like guilt says I did something bad. Shame says that I am bad. And that is by age 7, we started to at some moment in our life, we felt that love wasn't safe. And so shame came in. Oh, I'm not good enough. Well, I saw my dad passing a gift over the fence. I thought it was for me. Turns out now I know that it wasn't even for my sister. He has a daughter with someone else. But at the time, I thought it was for her. So I made that believe that I wasn't worthy. And that is shame. Shame says that I am not worthy. And every romantic relationship I went into, I tried to please my way in order for, see, I'm worthy. Choose me. I'm worthy. And then when they wouldn't choose me, look, why aren't you choosing me? I am worthy. You have to choose me. But internally, it's that is shame coming out in behaviors. Another example for me is when my daughter would try to tell me how she was feeling, and I would feel like, well, that's not true. I didn't behave that way. I didn't want to look at it, because then it meant that the very thing I was mad at my parents for, I was also doing. And I think that is the toughest pill to swallow. And my angry teenager does not want to forgive my parents. My angry teenager wants to hold on to it because I want to be right. But when I let my angry teenager sit in that need to be right, I am suppressing my inner child. I'm not getting to tell my inner child, but I love you and I care about you and you are worthy and you are deserving of all the gifts that you want and you're deserving. We can go back and we can add love to that moment. You may not have gotten that gift and you may have thought that it was for somebody else, but now when you get gifts, we can sit down with it. We can open it and we can think about all of the wonderful ways people are trying to love us and we can receive that love. And that is the biggest like block that I've had is being able to receive because I believed that I wasn't worthy. And the whole time I was. So it's like that shame that I
Mm.
want people to go back to that moment where that shame started, get to the core of it. Because once I got to the core of it, I was able to see how it showed up in my parenting, in my work, in my romantic relationships, in how I talk to myself. My self-talk was the biggest like indicator. When I would tell myself that I'm stupid or like,
Mm.
some of those little things, even if it's a joke.
Yeah.
Mm, to really, you know what I mean? So that's the best way that I can describe shame. It's that when I feel like I need to blame somebody or I'm angry with someone else, first I want to validate that. Find a safe person, validate that. But afterwards, it's like, well, what is that telling me? What's underneath that? Because there's a belief system that's there that I believed. And if I don't believe that, and if I really believe that I'm so capable, how could I allow the shame to sink more into my life? And I can forgive the past. I can forgive the past, and here and now, I can make a commitment to do it differently. And that's what I tell my children. I'm going to get it wrong. I'm going to get it wrong so many times. And the past, it has happened and it's affected you. And I'm really sorry that every moment that they come to me with that, I give them a genuine acknowledging apology that they didn't deserve that. And that wasn't right. And I would be mad at me as well, right? However, not however, and in the here and the now, I want to do it differently. And that is my commitment to them. I want you to be able to feel safe enough to come to me, safe enough that even if I get upset or we get disconnected, that we're going to come back, right? That's what the language is for. But we can't let the shame of whatever has happened, even if it happened yesterday, to affect how we communicate and connect today. Because every moment there's a chance to do it differently. Every single moment is if I'm raging and I'm mad and someone said that they see my heart, I can change immediately. My heart softens, my nervous system is ready to move in a different way. How can we do this differently? And so things will happen and it'll come up, but we can't, that shame of it all, it's a great teacher. It's a great, great teacher. I don't want people to not even face the shame, but don't let it be the thing that stops you from moving forward.
Thank you. That is so powerful. And thank you for this explanation on shame about because so many people I have seen in sessions telling me the belief that in their childhood how they haven't felt enough, they haven't felt worthy of receiving of of receiving love, of being loved, and how later this has affected them. At that time, it was good to believe that, you know. It
Yeah.
served them as a child, but as they grew up, it started to affect them, affect their life, affect their relationship, until they decide they can't live on like that, and they start to look within and start to look for healing. Laziena, there's so much to ask you. I need to invite you again because
Yes.
I wanted to talk to you about some other things about your business, but I will invite you again because we are coming close towards the end of the podcast.
Yes.
And what practical advice would you give someone today who is listening and that person is struggling with difficult communication in their relationship?
Yeah. The practical advice I would say is that you really need to find out what your emotional needs are. And that is taking a moment. I'll give you my favorite exercise.
Yes,
For
sure.
30 days, for 30 days, Imagine that this little version of you, pick an age, is outside of your body. You're carrying this baby around. This is you. And you're going to brush your teeth. You're going to get ready for work. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? So when you start to hone in on those thoughts, that's not your thoughts. You're talking to your baby. When you go to work, you're driving your car, put yourself in a seatbelt. Like I'm carrying you. Someone cut you off, you're not upset. The baby's upset.
Mm,
This is who needs your attention. So for 30 days, completely experience yourself as a child outside of you. You're the parent now. You go to work, someone upset you. Why are you upset? What made you get offended? These are all deep. I think it's one of the most beautiful connected interconnection exercise I could have done for myself. Is just experientially have
mm,
me, and whenever the hard emotion comes up, treat this you how you would want to be treated when you're sad and you're angry and you're frustrated. Give yourself that experience, and let's talk about it afterwards, because I have a quiz that will give you a language for all of that, where you're going to be able to name it. And
mm,
once you're able to name it, it doesn't have the power anymore, because then you're going to bring awareness through it, and then you get to integrate it. And that's the main thing, is integrating
mm,
this process in your life every day. So me, I say that I've had the most beautiful reconnection with my little girl, and I was the one who abandoned her.
mm,
And now that I've taken the time to really understand what I need, I get to go out in life and live from her joy, her dreams, her aspirations, because she didn't get that when she was
mm.
younger. And now I get to do that. So when we take that moment to like really go directly inward in that way and give ourselves that experience, I think it's a very profound experience, and I think you're going to fall madly in love with yourself. And then it's the beginning of a new life for you.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's so true. And that's so true. You know, and I love the exercise that you gave to work on with our inner child, because that child will always live with us, and we need to give that child some attention, because that child has experienced so much. But it's time now to, the only person that can reparent his or her is us,
Yeah,
because we know that child better than anybody, better than our
exactly.
parent. Our parent won't be able to understand the need of that child, but
Mhm.
we know what that those needs are, so we are the best parent to that child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And we
you.
get to grow up together.
Yes, and we get to grow up and do things together. Yeah. And Lazina, how can the audience connect with you and learn more about your work?
Oh my gosh. Type my name anywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. But the best place, you go to my website, laziena.com. And on there, I have a plethora of resource for you. You can take the Repair Language quiz, which is it's 30 questions that is unique to you, how you answer it. And that is going to give you it's going to tell you exactly what your emotional needs are at the end of it. That's the gift that you get to have. And then if you want to work out with me one on one, of course, I have some offers on there. But under the book section, I have some free resources. I have 4 free resources on there. One of it is for teenagers so that they can map their emotional needs
Mm.
to the repair language. I also have one to regulate your mind and your money, because and
Yes.
our inner child didn't learn finances either.
No.
And for people who are learning a lot about their attachment style, I also have a workbook that helps you map your attachment style to your emotional needs. And the fourth one is a repair language for teams, because I believe that as much as we spend time with our family and our friends, we also go to work and we work
Mm.
with people, whether we're entrepreneurs, business owners, or we're in a corporate world, or we're dueling it out, or we have clients. Psychological safety is important, and these emotions show up at work too. So how can we cultivate a more community community type lifestyle with the people that we work with? And those are all free to download. You're able to just directly download it. It's not a lead generator where you need to put your information in or anything like that. And I also have 3 workshops that I do every month. You can connect with me on my website, and I can give you the information about what those are. And right now they are no cost. So it's three the first Wednesday, the third Wednesday, and the fourth Tuesday. It's relationship with at home, relationship with your team, and relationship with money. So that is all my gifts to you. And if you need any conversation, I'm here. You want to work with me, I'm here. I'm available. My goal has always been to be reachable, and that is something that I'm going to fight to the death for. Let's not make that reality, but you know what I mean.
Laziena, thank you for kindly sharing those gifts to the audience. And your links and your website will appear on the video and also in the description of the YouTube and of the podcast so people can reach out to you. And my final question is, what final message or thoughts would you like to leave our audience today about love, about healing, and human connection?
I will tell you that there has been a lot of emotional impact that's happened in your life that has not been acknowledged. And every time you try to talk about it, somebody gave you a solution. Somebody told you to do it differently. And I'm encouraging you and I'm telling you that I want to acknowledge those because they're deserving of acknowledging. And you need a space to just be you because that's what healing is. It is telling your story over and over until you can't tell it anymore. It is having somebody that can witness you and hear you from your heart because I've been there. And when you're crying at 3 o'clock in the morning and you don't know what to do, you're not alone. And I know that sounds cliche, but that's what the repair language is for. That's what I'm here for. And that's the world that I'm co-creating. So if you don't know what your emotional needs are or what your impactful moments are, I want to sit in the mud with you. And just know that you're absolutely worth it. You're absolutely deserving and so, so capable, even when you can't see it.
Wow, thank you, Laziena. That was really very inspiring. And I do really encourage the audience to connect with you on your website, and they'll find all the resources there. And also, thank you so much for opening your heart, for being vulnerable, for sharing your journey, your story, and your wisdom. It's
Thank you.
been really wonderful having this conversation with you, Laziena. I'm so glad we connected, and it's like everything worked at the right time. We meet the right people, and you are such an inspiration. Keep shining, and I wish you a lot of success. You will come again to share with us. And to the audience, I would say thank you, everybody, for watching, sharing, and subscribing. And remember that you are amazing. You have always been amazing, and you always will be amazing. So take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.